Hello, Oracles. Today we're going to go over a quick recap of what we heard at the Tesla shareholder meeting. So it's going to be pretty brief, just going to kind of go over the main points that they went over today. So first off, big question is what happened with the vote? Well, as we all thought, both got passed. Elon's compensation package got passed again, and Tesla is going to be moving to Texas officially. So those two things got passed. Now, there may be some other court things that happen afterwards, but it's now passed again. And it sounds like there's most likely no chance that the court's going to overturn this. It'll go to appeal. They'll win the appeal. All is said and done. Now, Elon did state in the Tesla shareholder meeting that, again, this is something that he has to hold for a minimum of 5 years. So it's not just he gets $56 billion in cash. He gets $56 billion in stock options that he has to trade in, and he has to hold those for a minimum of 5 years before he can cash them. So anyone out there thinking that Elon's just going to take this, cash them in, and take the money and run, he can't do that. So this has to sit there for a minimum of 5 years. And then the other one with Tesla officially going to Texas. Again, I mentioned it before. I like this for tax purposes because they're going to pay significantly less taxes there than they do in California. So that's a big one. Plus, obviously, they've now built their home base down there with Giga Texas, so just makes sense for it to be the home location for the company and headquarters there. All right, so a few things that they did go over just in the questionnaire. So the whole main part of it before Elon came out to do the questions really was just Tesla kind of highlighting all of the different things that they've been doing over the years. It was sort of like a highlight reel, which is pretty awesome. A lot of people who especially new shareholders, they get to see what Tesla has gone through and how they got to where they are now and what they're looking forward to do in the future. Now, they did state, obviously, that we're going to learn more about the robotaxi future come August. So on August 8th, they will be having that special unveiling event there. But Elon did say, when it comes to robotaxis, that they haven't even uncorked hardware for stuff yet. So that they're going to be doing later this year. They do see that March of 9's coming. And he did say that based off of this information, if you're looking for any sort of accurate prediction as to what the stock price or the company value might be in the next 5 years, look to ARK Invest. ARK Invest has a $2,600 base case price target for 2029. Now, a lot of that is based off of the robotaxi revenue coming in, and Elon is confident that that is going to happen. So their target of $5 to $7 trillion market cap is pretty accurate. So hold on to your seats, folks, because even their bear case scenario of $2,000 is more than a 10x. So that's more than 10x in 5 years for their bear case scenario, and Elon agrees with this. So again, it's all going to come down to whether you think Elon is going to be fluffing things, if he's really going to back it up. That's all personal opinion. You guys can let us know in the comments below how you feel about that. But that is what he stated at the shareholder meeting today. Now, someone did ask about the Cybertruck. So there are actually a few questions about the Cybertruck. One is, when are they going to be moving away from the Foundation series? That sounds like very soon. Next quarter, they are going to be starting to make the non-Founders Edition Cybertrucks coming out next quarter. So everybody was pretty excited about that. So it sounds like that's going to be starting next quarter. So anybody else who is on the list, like myself, will start getting theirs as well. Now, I don't think I'm going to be getting mine until probably 2026 or 2027. I'm like 2.5 million on the list, but that's fine. I'm not ready for it yet anyway. They can work out a lot of the bugs when it comes to it. He did say that they're trying to get to economies of scale of Cybertruck. Haven't gotten there yet. They want to bring the cost of that down. And someone asked if they're going to be putting Cybertruck in other countries around the world. And Elon said, due to a lot of the regulations and other things that they have going on in those countries, they can't do that. The way the Cybertruck is set up right now, they can't make it that way in places like Europe or China. They would have to take out a lot of the things that make it as awesome as it is in those other countries. So they're going to make sure that North America is set up first, get that all running at economies of scale. Then they're going to take a look at maybe making a different version for those other countries to get it out there, because when they go on tour with it, they do get a massive crowd that comes out to take a look at this. So they do know that there's going to be some demand in these other countries, but obviously that demand is going to be limited. And if it's not going to be the same way it is here in North America, is that demand going to be the same way? So again, they're going to focus on North America first. They're going to move away from the Founders series next quarter, and we will start seeing the normal ones rolling out soon. And now someone from Kazakhstan came up and he thanked Tesla, Boomer Mama, and Sawyer for all the work that they did to help shareholders from around the world who weren't able to vote actually be able to vote. Huge standing ovation for both of them. And And honestly, you guys, I know both of them do significant work. Alexandra's been on this channel here. She's amazing. What she does for other people and how she just puts herself out there to help other people get what they want. She's awesome. And Sawyer obviously has been in the community forever, just passing out information to everyone to keep everybody up to date on what's going on with Tesla. So thank you both as well. And now another little piece that had come out the other day when they were discussing kind of a timeline of what Tesla has been working on, they did say that there are 2 Optimus robots working in the factory right now. Obviously, very limited, very specific skills that they are doing. But Elon said that realistically, they could have some of these robots being, generalists, things that can do some very basic stuff, not as, specific skilled, but they can kind of be like, hey, go pick up that box, go grab that cup, little things like that. They said they can realistically have that in the next 2 years. So by 2026, we can have some Optimus robots being able to do some generalist work. Now, this is a little ahead of the time frame that I thought they were going to have, but I was guessing that probably, in the next 10 years, they're going to have these Optimus robots to a point where they can be helping in other factories. But now, going back to what I thought initially with Optimus is they're going to obviously have them working in their own factories first. They're going to get them up and running. They're going to have these generalists, and then they're going to be able to show that, hey, they can replace some human labor with these robots or put these robots into situations that humans normally wouldn't want to do, and they can have them doing this work in labor. Therefore, is going to cut down significantly on labor costs. Other companies are going to see this, and they're going to want to get some as well. So Tesla obviously working with this, and then with FSD coming along with the vehicles, and obviously with Optimus running the same way FSD runs in the vehicles, it's going to be seamless to be able to transition them over. And then we're going to have other companies want these. The other companies are going to start purchasing Optimus robots from Tesla. And then this is what's going to take off. Very much like Palantir. We've heard things with Palantir, and companies take them on, and it actually reduces a lot of their costs when it comes to all the different software that Palantir has to offer. This is going to be very similar to what Optimus is going to do as well. But instead of it replacing, some software type stuff, this is going to be replacing human labor. I know some people go up in arms about this, about replacing human labor, taking away jobs. But this is also something that Elon addressed in the past when it comes to, maybe we need UBI down the road. That's universal basic income, where when you have a GDP that's just thriving because you have so much production, that production is coming from robots, then people don't need to work. People can work if they want to. People can do what they want to do because they have a universal basic income. Obviously, it is a long way to go before we get there, and it's going to be a very rough transition. The transition is going to be probably 100-fold harder than it is transitioning from ICE vehicles over to EVs and over to robotaxis. So that is a much more significant transition that's going to take place, but probably within the next, I would say, 100 years, we'll end up seeing that happen. Elon may think it's going to happen sooner. Who knows? I'm not going to put a time frame on it, but that seems to be the path that they're looking at going down. And now there were a lot of good questions out there. And one of the great questions that was presented was, talking about, Tesla without Elon. If Elon thought that Tesla would be able to succeed without him being there, God forbid something awful happens to him, would Tesla be able to succeed? And he said, you know what? Tesla is a great company that will thrive and be a great company in the future without him. He just acts as a helpful accelerant, which again, we've discussed on here before as well, is Tesla is a great company, and Elon touts his team all the time. So they're moving in the direction. They have that guidance. They know what's going on. But very much like Steve Jobs, he's the one who really pushes them forward, and he speeds up that process. A process that normally would probably take 5 years, Elon pushes the team to get it done in 2 or 3 years. This is why they're so far ahead of everyone else, because he's driving that forward. You have companies like GM who have cut down on their EV production by 15% because they still have to focus on ICE. They don't have, the revenue coming in just from EVs like Tesla does. They need to focus on their core business, which is ICE vehicles. They can't push that hard towards EVs because they'll completely crumble and go bankrupt if they do that. Tesla has that drive, and Tesla has Elon pushing that forward. You're not going to get that from those other companies that are out there. This is another reason why NVIDIA is doing so well also. You've got Jensen going out there, and he's the one who's driving that company forward, and he is that accelerant as well. So yes, Tesla will be an amazing company without Elon, but Elon is giving them an accelerant that is going to speed up that process significantly. There was another question that somebody asked about having FSD being transferable to new vehicles. Elon said, well, we have to generate revenue somehow, and it's not that easy to transfer the FSD from one vehicle to another. Personally, I think if you're on a subscription based, setup, that should be seamless. And I have a feeling they're going to go over to that eventually. Maybe when we actually do get robo taxis unveiled, it'll be just a month to month. So it doesn't matter if you're paying, let's say $200 a month for FSD and you end up getting a new vehicle. Well, you're still paying $200 a month. Whether there's going to be a setup fee to have it under you or the new vehicle, I don't know because it already comes with it. But that should be seamless. So you shouldn't even have to worry about it being transferable. The transferable is really just from people who paid the lump sum. When you paid 8, 10, 12, $15,000, whatever it was, those people want to make sure that that's transferable. Some people have been holding off. So Elon did agree that they're going to do a transferable program for another quarter. So that was pretty exciting to hear. So now this is actually going to be good because we saw that happen last year where a lot more people went out and bought more Teslas because they're like, oh, well, we didn't want to, buy a new Tesla because we would lose our FSD and we liked that. Now people are going to do that. So for another quarter, we could end up seeing a nice little turnover coming out, especially with the refreshed Model 3. That could be nice sales coming in for that and people transferring over to that FSD. So all in all, I think it was a great meeting. There's some really good questions that were asked out there. I know it was very brief of what I went over. Those were just the takeaways that I had from this meeting. The stock price basically stayed stable after hours, but I think that's because we got such a big push early this morning when Elon basically leaked last night that it seemed like the shareholder vote was going to pass in favor of both Texas and Elon's compensation package. So because of that, we saw basically that push coming up before the meeting. So meeting came up. And again, we didn't think there were going to be any surprises at the meeting, just exactly what we heard previously last night. So that all came out. We saw the push already up. Stock was up nicely. Now we get to wait and see how it's going to play out going forward. Yesterday with the CPI and the FOMC meeting, we had CPI that came in cooler than expected. So we had a 0% month over month versus the 0.1% that was expected. We also got a 3.3% year over year versus a 3.4% expected. So cooler CPI. Jerome Powell came out at the Fed meeting a little more hawkish than the CPI would lead you to believe. But I think he did so because he wants to make sure that the market doesn't completely run away with everything. Because if that ends up happening, then we could kind of reignite some inflation. I think he wants to make sure that that stays in check because we had that nice come down. Now, me personally, I think we're heading towards deflation. And so this number kind of, just really gave me that little red flag of, oh, this is kind of a marker of we are heading in that direction. I'll check next month's data to see if we're still moving in that direction and how it's going. But the Fed did update their dot plot, and the Fed was stating previously that they were looking at 3 rate cuts. The expectation was going to come down to 2 rate cuts, but the Fed now, per their dot plot, is looking at 1 rate cut for this year. So some people think that we're actually going to get a rate cut at the next meeting, and other people think it's going to happen at the end of the year. So again, it's like the Fed has to do a rate cut every single meeting, very similar to how they went up on the rates. They kind of went up quickly and then kind of slowly trickled off and then kind of went up and then paused a little bit, then went up again. They can kind of just reverse that process if they feel like the economy is doing well and they want to guide it down to make that soft landing. So they could do a rate cut in July and then maybe just kind of wait and see what the data looks like as we move forward and maybe do another one in December if they feel it's appropriate. Again, a lot of things that can play out in the macro environment that could potentially move Tesla stock one way or the other. Obviously, based upon the market's reaction yesterday, we are seeing something very positive and very bullish sentiment going forward. And we're also going to see something happen as well when we hear more confidence in rate cuts coming. When we're looking at things like, that 5% that you're getting just having held cash and savings, high yield savings, I'm getting 4.6% in SoFi. When the Fed starts cutting rates, those are going to come down. When people are no longer going to be getting that basically risk-free 5% interest coming out of their cash, they're going to move it into other places. It may not necessarily go into stocks. It can go into longer-term treasury bonds, other things like that. But that could also, in turn, flip the yield curve. Historically, that's when we have seen us actually slide down into a recession. So with all of these different points coming out, we flip the yield curve, we heading that direction. We've also seen past when the Fed does start hitting rate cuts, that's when we see the market actually pull down significantly. During election time, we actually see a massive pullback in the market. So I still think we're due for a big pullback. Do we get a recession? I don't know. Is it a soft one? Is it a deep one? A lot of unknowns that are out there, but these are just little data points that I'm following as we go month to month to kind of see how I'm thinking that the entire market and Tesla stock are going to move. One last thing I wanted to address is some people in the comments maybe have not seen all of my recent videos, and I know that I haven't posted a lot of them, but some people feel like I am not credible because I don't own any Tesla shares. To be clear, I own a lot of Tesla shares. I own four in I own four in my main portfolio, which is a significant cut from the 80 that I was at. Now, when I started this channel, ironically, I had four shares of Tesla. That was it, just four total. But I have four in my main portfolio, and I did so because I was purchasing the house that I'm in right now to be able to rent it out and have cash flow generation. I also moved some money into some dividend stocks, which are generating about $450 to $500 in cash flow every single month. I'm utilizing that so I can buy more Tesla stock. My thesis is we are going to be held down in Tesla's stock price for about another 12 months. I'm not trying to time this, but I do think that I have a little more time to kind of build up these other investments before I start adding back into Tesla again. Now, in my IRA, I have 11 shares. In my 401k, which is over $80,000, the majority of all of the funds that I own are heavily invested in Tesla. Now, in my main portfolio, I also have ETFs, which are invested heavily in Tesla. So while I only own four specific shares in my main portfolio and 11 in my IRA, between all of my other ETFs and funds, I own a significant chunk of Tesla. So I am a significant Tesla shareholder based upon my net worth. So for those of you who are commenting down below thinking those things, I just wanted to make sure I clarified that I am still a significant Tesla shareholder. I just don't have as many shares in my main portfolio as I used to. And the reason why is for other investment purposes. So just wanted to clarify that. But otherwise, you guys can let me know your thoughts in the comments below what you thought about the Tesla shareholder meeting. I thought it was pretty awesome. I would love to get to one eventually myself. Let me know if you guys were there. Actually, my friend who got me into Tesla itself, his brother, who lives down in Austin, was actually one of the 15 who were chosen to go on the factory tour with Elon today, and he sat front row at the shareholder meeting. So that was pretty awesome to be, just know the guy who was there. It was pretty cool. So I kind of lived vicariously through him. But otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate all of your support. Have a great one.